All right, we are on to our last video about just regular equations. The rest of our chapter is about equations, but these are the ones like when you think of equation, these are the equations you think of. So we're talking about variables on both sides of the equal sign and how to solve those. So here's our first one. Now I am going to go over things to think about when you're looking at equations. And you can ask yourself this about any equation. So the first question you should ask yourself is, do I need to distribute? And when we look at the one below, it's a no. So then, since it's a no, I move on to the second question. If it's a yes, then obviously distribute. The next question is, do we have same side like terms? And so if I do, which when I'm looking at it, 5x, 2, oh, nothing else on that side, 2x and 14, but nothing else on that same side of the equal sign. And so here for us, it's a no, but if I did, then I would combine like terms. Step 3 would be to move variables to the same side. And so maybe I ask myself, do I have variables on both sides of the equal sign? Well, in this case, that's the first place where we have a yes. And so I am going to go ahead and do my two-column proof as we go to show or to explain why I can make each step that I am making. So the first one was given to us. From here, I am going to do an SPOE. I'm going to subtract from both sides. I'm going to subtract the 2x. Now, you can subtract the 5x if you want. The reason I'm subtracting the 2x is because it's going to stay positive. Most mistakes are made when we work with a negative coefficient, and so I like to try to keep my coefficients positive where possible. And so I subtract the smallest. The other way you can think about it is, if it helps, letters left. If that's how you want to always move them, is to the left. But really, it's your choice. You're going to end up with the same answer in the end. All right, so I did my subtraction property of equality. From here, it's a two-step equation. So our fourth and final step is to solve the 2 or 1-step equation, because sometimes it does end up becoming a one-step, two-step equation. And we already know how to do that. Since this is plus 2, I'm going to subtract 2. So I'm using subtraction property of equality again. And so now I've got 3x equals, and 14 minus 2 is 12. And then using our division property of equality, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So then x equals 4. And then if I'm not sure, if I got something, I'm like, oh, that doesn't seem right, then you plug it back in. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So I know that when I plug it back in up here, that I get a 22 on the left. And if I do 2 times 4 is 8 plus 14, well, that's 22. And so then it's equal. So see how I didn't even have to write out the checking part of it. I did just verbalize it. You could just type it into the calculator, make sure the left equals the right. That's how you double check your answer. All right, so here we have a word problem. So I have a graphic designer who they themselves takes 1.5 hours to design one web page. Using some new software, they could complete each page in 1.25 hours. So each of those is a coefficient, because it's like per page, right? But the new software takes 8 hours to learn. And so they want to know how many web pages will the designer have to make in order to start saving time on the new software. So we're going to start with thinking of the equation. So I want to know when the web designer, or we'll call it graphic designer, GD, on their own, graphic designer on their own, equals the amount of time it takes for the software plus the training. No, don't do that to me. All right, plus the training. So that's what I'm thinking of here. How much time does it take? How much time would it take the graphic designer on their own versus the amount of time it takes with the software plus the training? And so that's how we're going to set it up. I'm going to use P for my variable this time. So the graphic designer takes 1.5 hours per page. That's what P is for my page. And we want to know when that equals the 1.25 an hour, or 1.25 hours per page plus the 8-hour training. So that equation was given to us through the word problem. And now I just have to solve. So because I only had the 1.5 on the left, or the P on the left-hand side, I'm definitely going to move my 1.25p to the left, because otherwise I'd end up with 0 on the left and everything on the right-hand side of the equation, and that just makes things more difficult. So when I subtract 1.5 minus 0.25, or 1.25, I get 0.25p equal to 8. So I ended up doing that using subtraction property of equality. Now, using the division property of equality, I'm now going to divide both sides by the 0.25, and then I'm going to get that P equals 32. And if that seems weird to you, just keep in mind 0.25 is 1/4. So if I were to take 8 and divide by 1/4, then I would do 8 times 4 over 1, right? Oops, 1. Hey, come back here. 4 over 1. And so then that's just 8 times 4, which is 32. So it will take 32 pages. And after 32 pages, then she starts saving time on making web pages. All right. Our last one for this video, here's example 13. So example 13, we do need to distribute. When we ask those questions, first question, do I need to distribute? In this case, the answer is yes. And so I'm going to distribute. 2 times 5 is 10, or 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times -1 is going to be a -2, equal to 3 times x, which is 3x, plus 3 times 11, which is 33. So I just use the distributive property there. And then I don't have same side like terms, so I don't need to combine like terms. So now I'm going to move across the equal sign. 3 is less than 10, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. And that's where I'm going to start. And so now I have 7x minus 2 equals 33. So I use the subtraction property of equality. From here now I'm going to add 2 to both sides, because that's going to get this constant away from my coefficient term, my x. And so now I am left with 7x equals 35, and I got that by using APOE. And now I'm going to use DPOE to divide both sides by 7. And so then 35 divided by 7 is 4, and if I'm unsure, then I plug it back in and I make sure that the left equals the right, but it will, and that, because I checked it earlier, that is our final answer. So again, your questions you ask yourself are, do I need to distribute? If you answer yes, then distribute. If you answer no, then move on to the next question. Next question is, do I have same side like terms? If you answer yes, combine the like terms. If you answer no, then move on to the third question. Third question is, do I have variables on both sides of the equal sign? If you answer yes, then you move your variables to one side of the equal sign. It really doesn't matter which side. I just tend to move mine based on what will keep things positive. If the answer is no, then you probably just have a two-step equation and you just keep moving. All right, and if it's a 2 or a 1-step equation, or once you get it to a 2 or 1-step equation, then you just finish solving as you know how. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you on the flip side. Deuces!